Well, footage of the attack on former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul, is expected to be made public.
That's right. A San Francisco judge ordered release of the video Wednesday, denying prosecutors' attempts to keep it under wraps. Paul Pelosi was attacked at the couple's San Francisco home last October. The intruder broke in through a window before beating him with a hammer. The accused assailant, 42-year-old David DePape, planned the attack in an attempt to cause harm to the then House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi.
We want to bring in now CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane. He's there at Capitol Hill. Beautiful shot, Scott. Welcome. I'm wondering what you can tell us about the decision to release this footage, and when might we actually see it?
Could happen today. It's expected to happen today. It's been 3 months since this attack, and during those 3 months, there have been these baseless conspiracy theories that have flourished on social media and elsewhere about some alleged relationship between Paul Pelosi and the suspected attacker. Baseless claims that the video could help disprove the body-worn camera video from police. The judge at one point was trying to hold back that video, arguing it could infuse conspiracy theories, but the attorneys for the media said it does just the opposite. Sunlight can burn away conspiracy theories. So the body camera video is expected to be released. It has been shown in open court earlier in David DePape's criminal case as an exhibit for the prosecutors. And when something is shown in open court, there becomes this burden on the judge and the court system to release it publicly so that those who couldn't get into the courtroom can see what has been shown openly through the judicial system. That's the baseline and the foundation of what's likely to happen today.
What's so jarring, Scott, is that the attempted target was then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And when I think of stories in New Mexico, for example, where state Democrats were targeted by a Republican there, that's what he's accused of doing, shooting at their properties, homes and offices. And there does appear to be a growing trend of threats to both federal and state lawmakers. Why do you think that is, and how serious is this becoming?
And that's not just anecdotal, Errol. There is data to back that up. There is an acceleration in investigations of threats and actual threats against public officials. Yes, this attack, October 28th in California, according to authorities, was actually targeting Nancy Pelosi, not Paul Pelosi, the House Speaker who was not in California that day. The U.S. Capitol Police tell us in 2022 there were more than 7,500 threat investigations involving members of Congress, slightly less than the year before, but wildly more than there were just years ago. There's a politically toxic moment we're trying to exist in. There is violent rhetoric that can be accelerated and amplified by social media. That could be contributing to it as well. But this is the reality for law enforcement, especially here at the Capitol. They need to protect the well-being of members of Congress and elected officials, state, federal, and otherwise, all across the country now from these burgeoning threats.
Scott, when you mentioned the politically toxic moment that we're in, it's fueled by this political rhetoric. And at the core of this political rhetoric are real issues, one of which is one that you've been covering, the ongoing debt ceiling negotiations. Is there any more civility there on Capitol Hill? Any progress being made?
No indication of it. And that's important at this moment in time. We've already actually reached the nation's debt ceiling, the max on the government credit card. Just a matter of months until an actual breach of the debt ceiling and a potential catastrophic impact on the U.S. economy occurs. And the talks are really nowhere. There have been a lot of events here on the Capitol over the last 24 hours in which members of Congress talk about it. But there's no crossroads between the parties that we've reached, no intersection where the Democrats and Republicans seem to align. We spoke with Republican Andy Harris of Maryland about what it would take for him to vote for the debt ceiling. He's a member of the House Freedom Caucus, seems to be taking a hard line against raising the debt ceiling without concessions. Here's more of our interview.
I think what we're going to have is we'd like to have a responsible discussion about spending going forward, especially discretionary spending, non-defense discretionary spending. So those are all the things, again, that we vote on every year, not Medicare, not Social Security, but the other spending bills. I think we're going to put some controls in. The other thing I think we're going to talk about is now that the COVID emergency really should be over, there are hundreds of billions of dollars of COVID funds floating around, both promised and sitting in pots of money still within the government, that really could help us with this debt ceiling issue right now.
Meanwhile, the Biden administration and top Democrats say there is no negotiating over the debt ceiling, that it's potentially destructive to do so. So, with about 4 months left until the debt ceiling is breached, we do seem to be absolutely nowhere.
All right.
All right, Scott MacFarlane, thank you.